friend Jordan Peterson, who has become something of a phenomenon, obviously, over the past several months, and who is now a best-selling author, has been for weeks and weeks and weeks now. NBC News on 60 Minutes did an absolute hit job on Jordan Peterson. They apparently did a 90-minute interview with Jordan. Jordan is not only not alt-right, Jordan has forcibly condemned the alt-right in no uncertain terms over and over and over. So what happened? NBC News labeled him an alt-right intellectual. And here's what it looked like. It's just an insane thing.
He takes direct aim at the far left and its effects on young men, whom he says have been hurt by a society that overvalues political correctness and pushes them away from traditional male roles. His new self-help book, 12 Rules for Life, is already a bestseller. Hundreds of thousands subscribe to his online lectures. His speeches regularly attract protests.
I'm not arguing about your rights.
And his new speaking tour is selling out.
Feels like a movement, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
I think he's dangerous because of the sorts of people that he enables.
Journalist John Semley has criticized Peterson.
Is there an ideological similarity between Jordan Peterson and Donald Trump and his followers?
I would say fundamentally, yes. They both believe in this basic split of winners and losers, of hierarchies being natural.
Peterson doesn't apologize for his mostly male audience and tells them not to apologize for their privilege, describing himself as a kind of father figure.
Get your bloody act together, but I'm on your side.
Using psychology, religion, and biology to justify the same inequality the left opposes.
What you're saying, it just sounds a bit grim, doesn't it?
No.
No?
No, it sounds a lot grim.
Okay, that's just, what in the world? So, I mean, we have a full hour interview coming out with Jordan in the very near future, okay? I speak with Jordan on a regular basis. This is the most ridiculous take on Jordan Peterson I have ever seen. He's using religion to justify inequality. In what world, what are you even talking about? What are you even talking about? Have you read, like, anything by Jordan Peterson? Have you ever listened to anything by Jordan Peterson? Okay, what Jordan says is that before you declare that inequality is therefore inequitable, you have to determine whether there are natural hierarchies in achievement. Okay, what he says is there are certain people who achieve more and certain people who achieve less. The question is whether they violated someone else's rights in achieving more or less. And if not, then inequality exists, but that doesn't mean some inequity has happened, right? Which is obviously true. But Jordan is apparently an alt-right intellectual, even though he, again, opposes the alt-right. And then they wonder why we don't trust them. And then they wonder why it is that we think that they are completely full of crap in the media. Because they do 90-minute interviews with Jordan Peterson, and then they release 30 seconds of Jordan Peterson talking and 90 seconds of one of his critics talking about how terrible he is and how he's just like Donald Trump. Jordan Peterson is just like Donald Trump. The dude was an associate professor of psychology at Harvard University. You're right, he's just like Donald Trump. He wrote a 500-page book on the deep maps of meaning undergirding philosophy and myth, not only in Western civilization, but in comparative religion across the world. Yeah, that sounds just like Trump. That's just like Trump. He's an intellectual, just like, what in the world? And then again, it's about, the only reason that we hate the media, though, is apparently because we're all rubes, and Donald Trump suckered us into it. What utter, absolute horse crap.
It's not a straightforward matter. It's not a matter of no import to mischaracterize someone as far right, especially in today's political climate. And it's indicative of what I would describe as loose journalistic ethics, to put it mildly, to then be so willing to transform your terminology with no explanation to your reader and no apparent, let's call it, crisis of conscience or serious consideration of the meaning of your actions.
Well, that's not good. Let's put it that way.
Anyways, you guys can, apart from that commentary, which I couldn't stop myself from making, you guys can draw your own conclusions.
And then one last thing. I'm not exactly sure what to make of the alt-right and then one last thing. I'm not sure what. And then one last thing. I'm not sure how to understand the alt-right or to characterize it or even to know what to think about its hypothetical existence or my association with it. But I can tell you that I'm not in favor of people banding together in ideological groups, and instead would much rather see people live fundamentally productive and meaningful and honest individual lives, and in that manner be a light unto their neighbors, so to speak, to show the way to live in the world without undue ideological possession and to move forward things productively in that manner. I don't know of any pathway forward through this increasingly polarized political landscape that we find ourselves in that isn't absolutely rife with the possibility of conflict. And if I haven't made that clear so far, I would certainly like to make it clear now. So I would encourage those of you who are considering yourself, say, on the alt-right, for that matter, as well as on the radical left, to transcend your dangerous and impersonal ideological identification and start to live as true individuals in the world. That's what I think, and I hope that I've been communicating that, and if I haven't, well, I apologize, because that's what I've been trying to do.
I've had many people write me from the right, or from the fringes of the radical right, saying precisely that listening to my lecture stopped them from going all the way. So I would say that if people listen to what I'm saying, then that isn't going to happen. Now, has my message been co-opted? I would say to a much lesser degree than people think. All you have to do is go read the YouTube comments. And there's thousands and thousands of them. And I mean, YouTube comments, it's like most of them are, generated by denizens from the pits of hell. They're really dismissive, aggressive, rude, vulgar, thoughtless, provocative, prejudicial. I mean, you name it.
Like we were discussing before off camera, the notion of, I think it's called Godwin's Law,
right,
where at a certain point, a YouTube or any internet discussion will degenerate into Nazi comparisons.
Right, exactly. And so, but that isn't what characterizes the comment stream on my YouTube videos, with very rare exceptions. And so, I don't believe that what I've been discussing has been co-opted to any significant degree. I think that what has happened is that at this time and place, for some reason, it isn't the people on the left who are particularly open to the message, but that's because I think that they're far more gripped by the totalitarian spirit than people aligned along the rest of the spectrum. And they also have more power. Now, they have more institutional power of a certain type, particularly in the universities, but not only.
This sounds like a highly academic context in which you're describing. Yes. And what concerns me is looking at the wider societal and global context. There is definitely a resurgence of the right.
Well, it's the polarization, eh? The polarization is disturbing. And, what I try to recommend to people, and I did in my talk last night, for example, is that they find someone that they don't agree with and have a conversation with them. Now, it has to be someone that you can have a conversation with, but a lot of that will just involve listening. It's like we have to extend our hands across the gap, because otherwise we'll polarize. That's what's happening. You saw it in Berkeley last week. And that could be just the beginning. And there's lots of people who would like that. That's not a good idea. It's a very bad idea. And I would say it's still my estimation that at the moment, it's the radicals on the left that are primarily responsible for this. And they're primarily responsible particularly because of their stance on free speech.
So to clarify for people, because I think the way you're describing this inherently speaks to people at the moment, and again, I hesitate to buy into this bifurcation, but people who identify at the moment with the right.
Yeah, well, put it this way. The campuses have not been infiltrated by right-wing radicals. Not at all. Right. Not in the least.
The campuses.
Yeah. Well, the problem with that is that's where the campuses, the humanities, let's lay it out again. Theology at the bottom, philosophy after that. Well, that's where the humanities are. The humanities are nearest to the foundation of our culture. And they're completely dominated by radical leftists. Like, there aren't even conservatives in those domains, let alone right-wingers. There's not even any conservatives. I mean, maybe you can call conservatives right-wing. I think you're pushing your luck when you do that. But there's no conservatives even. So the centrists are on the right as far as the people in the humanities are concerned. Well, that's not good. And it's seriously not good, because the humanities have way more effect on our culture than we think.
But would you be willing to say, for the record and to the camera, and if you're not, that's fine, but would you be willing to say that you yourself actually do not identify with what appear to be, for some of us, more insidious elements of the right?
I'm not political. I've made my decision. Many times I've thought of running for political office. And if I did in Canada, the most logical place for me to be would be in the Liberal Party, although I think that it's also been hijacked by the social justice warrior types to a to a very damaging degree, especially you see that in Ontario. But I've decided at multiple points in my life that I'm not playing at the political level. I'm playing at the philosophical level, or maybe I'm playing at the theological level. And what I'm trying to do is to say what I think as clearly as I possibly can, and to listen to the feedback and modify my message when that seems to be necessary. And apart from that, I'm willing to let the chips fall where they will, because that's also part of the decision. The decision is that if you believe, if you choose to believe, if you choose to act as if the truth brings being into existence in the best possible manner, then you speak your truth, you examine your conscience, you listen to feedback, and you allow the events to unfold as they will. And I am trying to do that. That's what I'm attempting to